On the night before my wedding in Las Vegas, I overheard my fiancé telling his friends that I was just his temporary bride. The next morning, as he stood waiting for me at the altar, I showed up, but I brought a truth with me that changed his entire life. Las Vegas's sounds from that night still echo in my ears today. I was standing in the hotel corridor when I heard Danny's voice from the other side of the door. He was laughing. It was the same laugh he used when he drank with his friends. "Man, honestly," he said, "she's just a temporary bride. Until someone better comes along." Laughter exploded inside the room. The coffee cup in my hand trembled slightly. Hot coffee spilled over my fingers, but I didn't feel the pain. I remained standing near the door. Someone asked, "Then why are you marrying her?" Danny answered casually, "She's got a nursing job. Steady paycheck. My credit cards are already maxed out. I'll get back on my feet in a few years. Then we'll see." Another round of laughter. Something inside me didn't shatter the way people imagine heartbreak does. The strange part was that I didn't feel like crying. Instead, a quiet stillness spread through me. I slowly walked back down the corridor. From downstairs, the casino sounds floated up. Slot machines ringing, people cheering, others groaning at their losses. Las Vegas is always loud. But in that moment, the only sound I could hear was my own breathing. Danny and I had been together for 3 years. In that time, I had helped him pay off portions of his credit card debt. When his construction job ended, I picked up extra shifts at the hospital. When his car broke down, I paid for the repairs with money I'd been saving. I believed we were building a life together. Apparently, he believed he was making an investment. That night, I didn't confront him. Instead, I went back to my room. Through the hotel window, the neon lights glowed across the strip while crowds filled the sidewalks below. I sat on the bed staring at my phone. The banking app was open. There was something Danny didn't know. 6 months earlier, my father had passed away. He had spent his entire life running a small auto repair garage in Ohio. Growing up, we never had much money. He worked long hours, often late into the night, and rarely talked about finances. When I met with his lawyer after the funeral, I assumed there would only be a small amount of savings. I was wrong. Over the course of 30 years, my father had quietly purchased a few pieces of land and made careful investments. Nothing flashy, just steady, patient decisions. By the time everything was settled, I learned that he had left me an inheritance fund worth just under $900,000. $900,000. I never told Danny. I wanted to know if he loved me for who I was, not for what I had. Now I had my answer. The next morning, sunlight filtered gently through the small chapel windows. The place sat just outside Las Vegas. One of those little wedding chapels where tourists get married quickly before heading back to the Strip. Danny stood near the altar, dressed in a dark suit. When he saw me, a confident smile spread across his face. He believed he had already won. I walked slowly down the aisle. In my hands, I held a small bouquet of white flowers. And an envelope. The pastor smiled politely and said, "Shall we begin?" I nodded. Then I looked at Danny. He leaned closer and whispered, "You look beautiful." I replied quietly, "I know what you said last night." His smile paused for a brief second. "What?" I opened the envelope. Inside were several documents. "I was standing outside the door when you told your friends I was just a temporary bride." The chapel fell silent. Danny's friends sat in the back row. Their faces shifted uncomfortably. Danny let out a nervous chuckle. "Baby, that was just a joke." I cut him off. "These are papers from my lawyer." I handed him the top sheet. He stared at it, confused. "It's a prenup," I said. The pastor looked between us in surprise. "If we get married," I continued, "all of my property, investments, and inheritance remain completely mine. If we ever divorce, you receive nothing." Danny frowned. "Inheritance?" "Yes," I said calmly. "My father left me almost $900,000. The color drained from his face. I could almost see the calculations happening behind his eyes. "Oh, baby," he said quickly. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted to see if you would still love me without the money." Every person in the chapel was now fully focused on us. Danny cleared his throat and held out his hand for a pen. "All right, fine. No problem. I'll sign it." I watched his hand carefully. Then I said softly, "It's too late." He froze. "What do you mean?" I turned toward the pastor. Then I said clearly, "There isn't going to be a wedding." A sharp breath came from someone in the audience. Danny's voice rose. You can't be serious. I set the bouquet gently on a nearby chair. Last night you said I was temporary. I looked straight into his eyes. So I decided you were too. His face turned red with anger. You're humiliating me in front of everyone. No, I replied calmly. You did that yourself. Without another word, I turned and walked toward the chapel doors. Outside, the morning sun was bright. Las Vegas mornings always look strangely clean, as if the city's wild nights never happened. Behind me, I could hear Danny shouting. But I didn't turn around. A taxi waited near the curb. The driver was an older man who looked like he had probably seen hundreds of weddings, and just as many disasters. As I climbed into the back seat, he said quietly, You made the right decision. I glanced at him. How do you know? He gave a small smile. I was married for 40 years. A man who doesn't respect his wife will never build a life with her. The taxi pulled onto the road. The neon lights of the strip looked pale now in the daylight. My phone began buzzing with messages. Calls from Danny, texts from his friends. I powered it off. For the first time in a long while, I noticed something strange. The heavy weight that had lived in my chest for years was gone. I still had hospital night shifts waiting for me. I still had responsibilities, bills, and the ordinary struggles of life. But something had changed. I wasn't temporary to anyone anymore. And for the first time in a very long time, my life truly belonged to me. If this story touched you or reminded you that knowing your worth can change everything, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful real-life stories like this. Your support helps this channel grow and reach more people. Thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it.